Hey guys, today we have another special guest that who is a wealth of knowledge. He currently has the biggest organization in Canada at EXP with over 1,700 partners. He's been selling real estate since 1984. He's been a very clever investor and is always one of those guys that sees opportunities and doesn't overthink or wait too long to jump on that opportunity. He's understood the difference between rich and wealthy, and I'm pleased today to introduce one of our business partners from Ottawa, Patrick Ashby. Hey,
Thank you. Thank you for the nice introduction, Thomas.
absolutely, Patrick. It's glad to have you on today, and I wanted to kind of start about your real estate career back in 1984. What led you down a path to become a realtor?
Well, I actually started taking the license when I was 19. And it was a funny story because when I was 19, I took a year off of school because I was supposed to go to Queen's University for Commerce. And in that year off, I worked up north in on Baffin Island for an airline company and realized that the hard labor wasn't something that I wanted to do. So I came back home and I answered this ad in the Ottawa Citizen newspaper for management trainee, and yet I found out it was selling vacuum cleaners. So to my parents' horror, I started selling vacuum cleaners and got excited because I started making $1,000 a week selling these things. And then my mom says to me at Christmas time, and she says, "Have you ever thought of you like sales? So have you ever thought of real estate?" So then I thought, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And so what I did was I got my real estate license, and back then you could get your license in, oh, it was basically almost 6 weeks.
Yeah, well,
And so I got my license, started at Canada Permanent Trust in Ottawa with the idea that, hey, this works out great. If not, I can go to university in the fall. So that's how it all got started.
and now almost 40 years later, you've obviously seen a huge shift in real estate in the
Oh,
world.
totally.
And what do you still do, obviously 40 years later, to still stay relevant in the business today?
Well, here's the thing is that I was long retired from real estate when I met Rob Flick. And Rob Flick in 2015, I was on vacation. I met Rob Flick, and it turns out, we just started comparing notes, and I found out, he was an early pioneer in Keller Williams. And see, back in 1999, a Remax colleague and myself, his name's Jeff Hooper, himself, myself, and another gentleman from Remax, we formed a company called Webco. And the whole idea of Webco was to take the exit realty model. Do you guys have exit out there in BC?
No.
No, so Exit Realty was created in Kingston by a Remax franchise owner, and she had the idea of let the agents attract, and we'll give them a 10% commission on the agents they attract, but it was a one-tier agent attraction bonus. And we saw that they weren't disrupting Remax in any way, but we saw the flaw in the system in that, so say, Thomas, you recruited me into Exit, you have absolutely no interest in helping me recruit. In fact, you'd probably want to deter me from it because if I got good at it, I could retire from sales, right?
Hmm.
So it didn't make it. And then you would make absolutely nothing, even though I could be a top superstar in the company. So we took that idea and we made it a multi-tier profit sharing plan. And then our business consultants, and we were serious into this because we had incorporated the company. It was called Webco. We were searching for office space. And then our business consultants say, guys, we found a company out of Austin, Texas. It's a pretty small company, but they already have a multi-tier profit sharing plan. And we said, what's the name of the company? They said, Keller Williams. We all said, Keller who? Right? We had never heard of Keller Williams. And so next thing you know, we're down in the US meeting Gary Keller, and we buried our idea. There never was a Webco. And Jeff Hooper brought Keller Williams and opened up the first office in Ottawa. Okay. Now he crushed it. He built that office up to 320 agents.
Wow.
And in 2015, he went to sell it, and Keller didn't buy it, so he sold it to Remax Hallmark. So the very first guy, so what happened was this. I meet Rob Flick, and Rob Flick starts telling me about him being an early pioneer in Keller Williams. He has 42,000 agents in his Keller Williams profit sharing tree. And I mentioned the name Jeff Hooper. He says, isn't that the guy who brought it to Canada? So that's how this whole thing started. And then he shared with me, he said, Patrick, I just saw a business model. It's called EXP. You've probably never heard of it. There's only 500 agents. It's trading as a penny stock. I said, trading? What do you mean? He said, yeah, there's a stock program for agents. And he said, my buddy Gene Frederick just sold his region at Keller and 6 offices. He's trying to convince me to come out of retirement because he's telling me this is going to be the largest real estate company on the planet, right? So that's how this whole thing started. And next thing you know, I'm on the phone with Gene, and then they get Glenn Sanford involved. And I said to Glenn, listen, I've got a son in real estate. Matt had just been selling for about 2 years. And I said, I have another son finishing high school who's thinking of getting into real estate. So if you want to bring this to Canada, we'll help initiate this in Ontario. And that conversation happened in 2015, and we had to wait until 2017 until EXP was actually ready to expand. So so that's the background story. So in terms of staying relevant to real estate, what I've done is this. I literally only do maybe 2 or 3 deals, usually commercial deals a year, because I'm spending like, well, my son and I created this program called 95.5, and it's called the 95.5 Rev Share Training System. And I said to Matt 2 years ago, I said, listen, you need to spend, or sorry, this was not 2 years ago. This was in 2017 when we launched. I said, Matt, you need to spend 95% of your time focused on selling real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Get into the KV core, get into the trainings and build up your clientele. And I said, 5% of your time, learn to refer agents to me. And I said, I'm going to spend 95% of my time learning this model. I'll go and learn it from Gene and Rob and the guys. And what we'll do is I'll become the presenter, you be the connector, and we'll just see what happens. And that's so that's what I do today. I specialize in the revenue share part of thing, helping to convert brokerages over large teams and individual agents. And for everybody on your team, Thomas, they have our support. You know, that there's no problem at all helping out in any given situation.
Absolutely. So I wanted to talk about the 95.5 program because I've used the 95.5 program. I still do. It's been great for me. For a lot of agents, go back, when I was a new agent about 3-4 years now ago, I focused on production, heavily focused on production, right? I wanted to make as much money, build as much income as I can to buy rental properties and create passive income. And also I wanted to put my name on the map, but I didn't follow your 95.5 program back then. I should have. My biggest regret is I should have started it back then. Now, your sons, who are obviously licensed in the Ottawa area, are selling real estate. But kind of talk about your 95.5 program and what do they do in regards to that?
Can I share my screen, Thomas?
Yeah, hang on 2 seconds.
I'll just bring up, because back in oh gosh, when was it? Early February. I did a presentation in Maui at the leadership event.
Yep.
And I'll just share a few slides from that. The boys are actually selling in the London, Ontario market. Just to make a correction there. Okay, can you guys see my
Yep, absolutely.
screen here? Okay. Play from start. So this this system is basically a 3-year business plan to create 100,000 a year passive income. And like I said earlier, it all started with meeting Rob Flick and Gene Frederick and everything. And see, what happened was this: our first 6 months, because we started July of 2017, and back then, if you had talked to us, we were convinced we were going to have 40 or 50 tier 1 agents in our first 6 months. We just thought everybody's going to love this. Like, what's there not to like, right? Well, we were in for a real rude awakening because, of course, nobody had heard of EXP. Canadians in general are a little bit more resistant to change until there's a proven concept and the whole bit. So I attended this training in Mexico, and of course, I look really happy there. I'm on a golf course with Gene and Rob, right? But I'll tell you, I was not a happy camper, because in that first 6 months, we had only attracted 4 agents, and those 4 had attracted 4, and we had a total team of 8. And here I am at the training, and I'm hearing about, people from Texas and Arizona. Oh, my team just hit 500. My team just hit 300. My rev share last month was $20,000 and stuff like this. And I'm saying to Gene and Rob, I said, I don't know what it is with Canada, but we just can't seem to get any traction. And that's when Gene pulled me aside and he said, Patrick, he said, the people that you see on stage right now were exactly where you were a few years ago, or they're where a few years ago where you are right now. Oh, somebody's trying to come in here. Owen Stacy. Um, so what happened was this. He said to me, he said, Patrick, it's like when we sell out subdivisions in Texas. He says, we start with a trailer. And in the beginning, at the trailer stage, there's very few buyers. But then, the roads go in and a model home goes up, and all of a sudden there's more interest. And then he said, once the subdivision is built, that's when the masses come in. And he said, you are at the trailer stage right now. So you just have to be patient. So this graphic here is going to show the journey. And this is specifically why we put the 95.5 program into a training manual, because it works. All right. The 4 here at the bottom in the blue represents our tier 1 agents. The green is the team. So, we brought in 4, it turned into 8, and the revenue share for that 6-month period was $2,500. Okay. But the following year, Matt referred 6 more agents. Okay. But look at what happened to the team. It went from 8 to 100. Why? Because we were implementing this system to everybody who got introduced to the team. All right. 61,000, not bad passive income, about $5,000 a month, right? The next year, though, look at what happened. Matt just referred me 4 agents. So keep in mind, his focus was selling real estate, right? And he was just referring agents. And now, the team grew to 400, revenue share 146. And then the following year, he did the same thing, referred 4 agents. And this is when we shifted gears, because as soon as this passive income went over $250,000, he had actually hired a coach through EXP, Jason Simard. And Jason said, Matt, you should create a team and maybe start shifting your time around and doing more what your dad is doing, maybe 75% of your time be focused on selling real estate, and start devoting more time to agent attraction. Because he was saying, like, there's a lot of younger agents out there in their 20s and 30s that could really relate to you and your story now, and you should spend some time on that. So that's what we did. My youngest son got licensed, joined Matthew's team, and look at what happened in 2021. Okay, it just went ballistic, right? And now this slide is old, but it says 8 of the 22 countries where I think we now have agents in 14 different countries. Okay. But the crazy part about this is that, once you build the foundation, so let's talk, the foundation of this was built, struggling through the process in the first few years, but then it takes on a life of its own. Okay. And what ends up happening is you start having agents coming in. Like, I think we're averaging 50 to 60 new agents every 30 days who are joining anywhere within those first 7 tiers. Okay. So what happened was, during COVID, we started looking at this 95.5 system and saying, because we were noticing there was a lot of agents on our team who were not doing agent attraction. And when I talked to them and found out why, they said, well, because it's too complicated. I'm busy selling real estate. I don't know how to do a presentation. And then the same thing, I can't present it like you guys do. It's like, well, you can partner with us. We're not even going to charge you because we get paid through the company revenue shares. So, and once they started understanding that, it made sense. So, with agents, if they can look at this and say, why should you devote 5% of your time to agent attraction? Because eventually it will surpass your transactional income. Okay. It may take, like, who knows? It might take 5 years, it may take 10 years, it may take 4 years. It doesn't really matter. But the bottom line here is it's passive income coming in. And that's why, we documented this. So this is an 80-page training manual. Maybe some of you already have it. It's available on Amazon that you can just order in. And it's a step-by-step guide of building your foundation and setting your goals, how to get organized, and learning what we call our 3-step business evaluation. Because in the beginning, we realized that doing 45-minute presentations was getting exhausting. and I also realized this was that some people are just never going to join no matter what, right? So why waste a bunch of time if they're not going to join? And that's when we discovered, this 3-step business evaluation of step 1 is an 8-minute intro video. The whole idea here is that if somebody watches this 8-minute intro video and says, hey, this isn't for me, I'm not interested, well, let's shut it down right now and forget about it, right? If they are intrigued, well, then we go to step 2, which is about a 20-minute video with the EXP model explained, and we talk about the 3 wealth building pillars. And if they get through those 2 steps, now we go to step 3 and we do a cost analysis and show them the rev share projections if they were to follow the 95.5 program. So this system is so simple that you could teach a 10 or 12-year-old how to do it, because now there's no learning a presentation. No, it's just, hey, can you watch this 8-minute video with me? Tell me what you think, right? And so it's a system that's really working. So that's a little bit on the 95.5. Maybe we have some questions.
Yeah, no, and that's great, Patrick. Like I said, one of my biggest regrets is I didn't focus on the 5% my first couple of years in the business. And when you're selling real estate production, that's one way of making money, right? And there's a difference between rich and wealthy. Rich can obtain their income from 1 or 2 streams. So you can be a realtor selling hundreds of homes, making a lot of money, but wealthy has multiple streams of income. And that's one thing, obviously, you've mastered, and you've learned to put systems in place to become wealthy, having multiple different sources of income, right? And the passive income is key. Why do you think it's important for a realtor to have more than one revenue stream, Patrick?
Well, here's the thing is that, in the 80s when I got started, the industry was pretty tough because the interest rates were high and the whole bit. But in the early 90s, we went through a major recession. Okay. And in that recession, I was at Remax. I had 2 offices rented. I had a full-time assistant, and my signage costs were through the roof. And you know what? If I was in a model like EXP, I would have weathered that storm. Okay. But that storm was so bad, that recession was so bad that Remax ended up closing down their commercial division. Okay. There was just no business. It was just really, really tough. So real estate goes in cycles. And here's the thing, and this is what I said to my boys. When we first started in this, I said, guys, and I was never thinking that Matt would be hitting like 90,000 a month or 80,000 a month in revenue share, which he's done that multiple times now. But at the time I was thinking, hey guys, if we can get this thing up to like 15,000 a month, 20,000 a month, we don't even need to touch that money. We could just be buying a rental property, every 2 months as with a down payment and the whole bit, and take that and leverage it into purchasing other assets. Okay. And that's exactly what we've been doing now for the last few years, because see, his production income pays the bills. The passive income is really the compounding wealth. And I love talking to young agents about this because, up until last year, the real estate market had just been on, like if you had come into real estate 10 years ago, you had never seen a downturn in the market. You had never seen tough times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, what ends up happening is those tough times will come. And this is why the conversation right now for prospecting is so much easier than it was a couple of years ago when the market was like on fire, right? And because now agents are really thinking about, reducing expenses, and the whole idea of, 5 buckets of income versus 2 buckets of income is starting to ring bells with them.
Absolutely. And do you think we're going to hit another recession in the next 10 years in real estate?
I don't know. Like, it's very likely that we're not going to go on another 10-year run of what we've just seen. There's so many factors involved, but regardless of that, okay, because even if we were guaranteed that we're not going to see another recession, it just makes sense, total sense, to be building these what I call business assets, because we are building business assets at EXP versus the competition with all the other brokerages out there. They basically have a career with no exit strategy, no pension plan. The day they stop selling, it all ends. They come, like I say to agents, hey, much longer are you going to be selling? And some of them are saying, well, 10 years, 15 years. I said, well, let me ask you this. If you stay at Remax for the next 10 years, and then you decide to, hang up the skates, what are you going to be left with? He said, well, my rental properties and, some investments and the whole bit. But I said, but from Remax, are they going to continue paying you a residual income, or you collecting stock in the company and all of this stuff? I said, well, no, that doesn't happen. I said, well, here it does happen. And here's why it's so significant, because those stocks that you're going to earn year after year, just for closing your first deal, or, hitting a cap or whatever, all those multiple ways, the 5% agent equity program. I said, do you realize the compounding effect of that? Okay. Even if the stock doesn't go up, the compounding effect of that is so powerful. But we just hired Michael Valdez. Michael Valdez in 2020 came from the largest real estate conglomerate in the world. When the guy who's running the largest real estate conglomerate in the world, which has brands like Century 21, Coldwell Bankers, Sotheby's, Better Homes and Gardens, it goes on and on and on. When he comes to EXP and declares this is going to be the #1 real estate company in the world, so if you go back and take a look at our stock in 2020, remember when it just skyrocketed?
Yeah.
Why? Part of that was Michael Valdez.
Yeah.
Okay. Part of that was the stock announcing that it was split, but there was so much good news there that's why when agents ask me about, hey, it looks like the company's really gone down, I said, no, the company is stronger than ever. The stock never belonged up there. I wish they could take that down, because it was just like a frenzy of people wanting stock in this company. Okay. And now, in my opinion, it's on sale, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a cool thing, but long term, man, you just can't beat this. You cannot beat the model. Yeah.
Absolutely. And now for your boys, what are they doing right now besides selling production? What are they doing now to grow that passive income? Are they just reaching out to agents that they're doing deals with?
Mostly, to tell you the truth, for Michael, he's really just focused on production right now.
Yeah.
And he's still pretty young, and he's pretty shy, because he said to me, he said, Dad, once I start, and this year I think he's going to go over 100,000. He just did a deal where he made 50 grand, which is great. Amazing. And for him, it was more of a confidence builder, because he said to me one time, he said, Dad, I don't have any credibility to really talk to agents. And I said, Michael, stop right there. I said, this isn't about you. Okay. This is about them. So I said, if you introduce them to the model and they like it, okay, you're going to get credit as the sponsor, but they're not going to give a damn about your production income, right? So you could be talking to a Remax Hall of Famer that you just did a deal with, and have the ability to recruit. So he's started to refer agents now to his brother. And as far as Matt goes, the vast majority of his time, like I was talking to him earlier today, and the vast majority of his time is working for people on the team doing rev shares, like rev share meetings and projections and stuff like that. So that's how he's helping to build the team. And of course, we're working on personals as well, trying to add another, 5, 6, 7 every year to the frontier.
Absolutely. So if you had some advice for an agent that just wants to get started doing this, building that wealthy passive income, what would that advice be, Patrick?
Well, I would first off say devote some time to understanding what we have here. And that's specifically why we didn't just come out with the training manual. We came out with a book called The Wealthy Agent. Okay. And I would strongly advise you to get the book. There it is there. And the newest cover actually has Matthew on the cover, because when he's basically living the winters in Mexico, and his wife's a professional photographer. So about a month ago, before they came back, I said, Matt, go buy a white chair, and get Nova to take a picture of you. So he's on the new cover. But anyways, the wealthy part in the title is not about money. It's about lifestyle. Okay. And that's the very first thing we talk about. But the book gives a history of the evolution of brokerages and how each major disruptor, Remax and Keller, was all about the financial benefits for the agents. And then it rolls into the EXP story, why EXP is now disrupting both Remax and Keller at the same time. And see, that book is very, very powerful as a recruiting tool. So I've had some agents buy 10 books and get them out there. I had one agent buy 100 books and he started sending them out to his contacts. 2 weeks ago, he forwards me an email from this guy. This is a broker in Toronto who owns his own brokerage with like 4 or 5 agents. And the guy says to him, he says, Daniel, thank you so much for sending me this book. It's the best real estate book I've read in a long time. And by the way, I've made the decision now to join EXP. Send me the paperwork, whatever it is. I'm going to convert my brokerage over. And it was so when I got on a Zoom with him, he had never seen one of my videos. It was the book that convinced him. And see, right at the back of the book, there's an addendum, which is why independent brokerages are coming to EXP and the 15 reasons or whatever it is. And it just, everything in there just resonated with them. So I would advise, read the book, get educated on the model. And then if you want to really simplify it, just follow the 95-5 system. Because, if you're working a 40-hour work week, 5% of that is 2 hours. So take 2 hours out of every week and just focus in and just follow the system.
Absolutely. No, I really, really appreciate it, Patrick. And a lot of it's fear. And it was funny today. I had a memory of 4 years ago when I became a realtor. It was a picture that popped up on my Facebook, and I'm just going to share my screen with you guys, and I'll read it to you because it was so fitting for the conversation we're having today. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear is that we're just not enough. Fear is a common current that runs through all of our lives. And if we let it, fear can keep us locked in prison of the comfortable and predictable. But there is also a way that fear can serve a valuable purpose, helping us break through the frustration to achieve the life we truly desire. And Patrick talked about that, living the life that you truly want, right? And when you want, where you want. That's right. So if you allow it to, fear can become your ultimate motivator in your mind if you have no choice but to succeed. If achieving your goal is an absolute must, then nothing else matters. Sacrifices won't even be a question. Excuses go out the window. You'll do whatever it takes to make it happen, period. So here's a toast to feeling the fear and doing it anyways. And I thought that was really fitting for today because a lot of real estate is fear, especially as a younger agent, fear of talking to people, talking to your clients, talking to another agent. And, guys, for everyone on this call, if you can start just chipping away, 2 hours a week at this, in 5 years or 10 years, you're going to have built something that you don't actually need to sell real estate anymore. You can be on a beach in Mexico for 6 months a year, or you can travel the world or do whatever you want. Spend more time with your kids, right? Find what drives you and use that to drive you. And I wanted to have Patrick on this call today because he's obviously been a great influence in my life. He's done an amazing job. He's a business partner, and his family has created a legacy, a wealthy legacy that they don't actually have to sell real estate if they don't want to, and they can choose the lifestyle of what they want to do and where they want to do. And Patrick, your boys are what? They're both under 40?
Under 30? Matt's 33 and Michael's 25.
Yeah, perfect. Right.
Yeah. So and one of the nice things too is that, if the agent attraction side of things is something that you like, think about this because now you can travel. Like next winter we're going to go to Portugal and Spain and Italy probably, and maybe hit Greece, right? And all 4 of those countries are open, which means that when we go there we can prospect, because anywhere where you go there's real estate offices, right? It's easy to meet real estate agents there. Now it's like, say yes to that timeshare presentation. My wife would kill me for that, but it's like one of those things where you can now tax deduct a good portion of your trip if you're turning these into, because you don't have to be licensed there to sell real estate, but you can recruit. I was just in Costa Rica, and ended up recruiting an agent there. She's living in Costa Rica, which we're not open there, but she has a real estate license in Florida. So she's joining under the Florida banner, and she's starting to recruit agents that she knows back in the United States. And then when we are ready to open up Costa Rica, which will probably be sometime in the next year or two, she'll already be on the runway of growing it.
Amazing. Well, you've done a great job. And hey guys, before we end this call here, if anyone has any questions for Patrick, let us know. I also have the 95.5 training program. So if you're interested in it, just shoot me an email or a text and I'll send it off to you. It's called the 95.5 training program. It's obviously going to build your wealth, but does anyone have any questions for Patrick here before we wrap things up today? Go ahead, Matt.
What's the most common objection that you find you're getting with the recruiting right now?
I guess one of the most common objections, and you have to keep in mind, my sphere is more in their 50s, 60s, 70s age group, and it's a fear of technology is that seems to come up a lot, because just the word virtual, right? They've been maybe working out of an office for 25 years, and even though they don't go into the office anymore, they that fear of the unknown is one of the things that holds people back. But what I often say to them is that, well, how did you do during COVID? And often they say, you know what, I had a great year during COVID. I said, and what happened? You couldn't go into the office, right? He said, yeah. So you know how to upload documents. And, oh yeah, that's all we're doing here too. It's not that technical. So there's that fear, and then for some it's just the fear of change, or I love my broker. I love the camaraderie and stuff like that. And so, in the training, we actually talk about how to overcome different objections. And when it comes to the loyalty thing, I always say, it's probably more important that you're loyal to yourself and your family than it is your broker. Because you know what? Your broker could retire next year, could sell the brokerage, right? Whereas your family's with you forever. And these business assets that you build over time, okay, they'll continue building and paying you while you're retired from real estate. But it does go one step further, okay? The day that, you go 6 feet under, those assets don't go with you. They get willed to your family. And that's, talk about loyalty, right? Mm-hmm. So those are some of the things that I come across.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And Matt, if you want the 95 program, I do have the common questions, common objections that most people ask. And they're typically rumors put out by other agents. And, you have to pay to talk to a broker, stuff like that, stupid things people have made up over the years, right? So I'll send that to you as well.
The other thing I want to make a comment on is this, because I've talked to agents who have said, "Oh yeah, I know all about EXP. I've had some people talk to me about it," and I say to them, "Have you ever seen a proper presentation on the model? And have you ever had anybody run a cost analysis for you?" And it's always a no. They've just had a conversation. They've made up in their mind what they think EXP is. But I said, listen, I have this 8-minute intro video. Why don't we just watch this together? And, it's 8 minutes of your time, and either you'll be intrigued or you won't, right? And see, I have not given a presentation. I think I've given one presentation in the last 6 months, because Jeff Hooper, the guy who had the Keller Williams office, he's now joined EXP. And he wanted to see me do a live presentation for 2 of his prospects. But other than that, I use the videos, because I was actually on a call recently with one of my agents who thought her prospect had watched the videos, but she hadn't. There was a miscommunication. So I said to her, we have a system. And I said, the first one is an intro video. It's 8 minutes. Now, I have the slide deck, but if I pull it out and start talking in the whole bit, it's probably going to take twice as long. Would you be okay if I just played the 8-minute intro video right now? And she said, sure, no problem, because it's saving time, right? So I played the video, and then at the end of it, as it asks the prospect, are you an A or a B? So at the end, when it shut down, I said, so, you know, at the end it said, are you an A or B? I said, which is it? She says, oh, I'm definitely an A. I said, well, same thing. I've got the slide deck for the next one, but it'll take me 45 minutes to go through, or we could do 20 minutes and I can show you the video. Do you want to do it right now? So that's, you know, I played the video and I went and grabbed a coffee and did some other stuff and came back. And that resulted in her saying, yes, I want a cost analysis and the whole bit. But more importantly was this, I was using a system that she could follow. If I had done the presentation and she in her mind is saying, my gosh, every time I need to show this to somebody, I'm going to have this thing memorized and do this and do that. No, it's like you use the system, and there's a lot of psychology involved in the prospect, because as they're looking at it, they're also saying to themselves, can I do this?
Mhm.
Right? So yeah.
Absolutely. It's not rocket science. Well,
No.
Patrick, I really appreciate your time. I know you got a meeting here that you got to run off to. Thanks so much, guys. Guys, if you want that 95 program, reach out. I'll send it to you, and reach out for Patrick if you have any questions. He's a business partner. He'll help you with anything. He's great. And if you have any referrals for London, for his sons, London, Ontario, send them their way. They're great agents there in the Ontario market. Thank you so much, Patrick. I really appreciate your time today.
Okay. Take care. All right. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.